The breathless race toward the sunbeam often leaves us only with the dust motes dancing in its wake. Have you ever felt that deep, persistent ache, a sense that the very thing you pour all your energy into attaining, that shimmering state called happiness, remains stubbornly just beyond your grasp, like a beautiful butterfly that alights only when you cease to pursue it? Do you find yourself caught in an endless cycle of seeking, striving, acquiring, only to find that each momentary peak of pleasure quickly dissolves, leaving you scanning the horizon for the next, more promising source of joy, wondering if this chase itself is the destination? There is a quiet whisper from ancient Buddhist wisdom, a truth so contrary to our modern conditioning that it might indeed feel shocking. It suggests that our relentless pursuit, our desperate grasping for happiness, might be the very obstacle that stands between us and the serene contentment we yearn for. This isn't a path to acquiring more, but to understanding differently. This isn't about resignation or abandoning joy. Far from it. It's about uncovering a more profound, more stable sense of well-being that doesn't depend on the fickle winds of external circumstance. Journey with me, just for a little while, as we explore this seemingly paradoxical teaching. Let us gently unravel the nature of this chase and discover a truth that, once embraced, could fundamentally shift your relationship with happiness, leading not to a fleeting capture, but to a lasting embrace. Stay and allow this ancient insight to illuminate your path. Imagine a woman named Alara, who lived in a bustling city vibrant with promises of fulfillment. From her earliest years, Alara was an avid collector, not of stamps or coins, but of moments she believed were the building blocks of a happy life. She had a mental checklist: the prestigious job with a corner office, the perfectly curated apartment featured in design magazines, the whirlwind romances that mirrored cinematic fantasies, the exotic vacations that painted her social media feed with enviable hues of azure and gold. She pursued each with an almost ferocious intensity, believing that with each ticked box, she was drawing closer to the citadel of lasting happiness. Her career was a ladder she climbed with agile determination, sacrificing sleep and often peace of mind for the next promotion, the next salary increase. Each achievement brought a fleeting burst of exhilaration, a momentary sense of arrival. She'd stand in her meticulously ordered apartment, the city lights twinkling below like fallen stars, and for a breath, feel a flicker of satisfaction. But the flicker would inevitably dim, replaced by a subtle, gnawing emptiness, an internal whisper. Is this all there is? What's next? The high of the new job would fade into the routine of daily pressures. The perfectly placed designer sofa would soon become just a piece of furniture. Her relationships were a similar pursuit. She sought partners who mirrored an idealized image, expecting them to be constant sources of joy and validation. When imperfections surfaced, as they always do, or when the initial intoxicating rush of romance subsided into the quieter rhythms of companionship, a profound disappointment would set in. She would conclude that this wasn't true happiness, and the search would resume, leaving a trail of bittersweet memories and a growing weariness in her heart. Her vacations, meticulously planned to capture perfect moments, often felt like a performance. The pressure to be having the time of her life, overshadowing the potential for genuine connection or simple presence. She was so busy documenting the sunset for others to see that she often missed the profound beauty of the sunset itself. One particularly exhausting week, after a coveted project milestone was met with less fanfare than she'd anticipated, and a promising new relationship ended with familiar predictability, Alara found herself wandering aimlessly through a quiet city park. She was tired, not just physically, but soul tired, the kind of weariness that settles deep in the bones when one has been running for a very long time without reaching the desired destination. She sat on a bench near a large, ancient oak tree, its branches gnarled and spreading wide, offering shade and solace. An elderly man was sitting nearby, not with a phone or a book, but simply observing a group of sparrows squabbling over a few crumbs. He had a serene, unhurried air about him. After a while, noticing Alara's downcast expression, he offered a gentle smile. "They find such joy in so little, don't they?" he remarked, his voice soft. Alara, usually reserved, found herself sighing. "I wish it were that simple for me. I feel like I'm always chasing something, always trying to arrange my life perfectly to be happy, but it never quite sticks." The man nodded slowly, his gaze kind. He picked up a fallen acorn from the ground, turning it over in his weathered fingers. "This little acorn," he said, "doesn't chase the sun to become an oak. It doesn't strain and strive to impress the other seeds. It simply allows itself to be what it is, where it is. It settles into the earth, accepts the rain and the light, and in its own time, if the conditions are right, it grows. Its oakness unfolds from within, not by chasing an external idea of what an oak should be." He continued, "We humans often think happiness is a thing to be caught, a destination to be reached through frantic effort, like chasing a beautiful, elusive bird. We build elaborate cages of expectations and achievements, hoping to trap it. But true contentment, the deep, abiding peace that feels like coming home, that often arises when we stop the chase." Alara looked at him, a flicker of understanding dawning in her eyes. "Stop chasing? But then what? How do you find it?" The old man smiled again, a knowing, gentle smile. "Perhaps, dear child, the shocking truth is that the more desperately you chase the bird, the more certainly it flies away. Maybe happiness isn't found by adding more to the cage, but by realizing the cage itself, this relentless pursuit, is the very thing obscuring the sky. The core truth, the quiet wisdom, lies not in the attainment of an ever-receding goal, but in the transformation of our approach. What if happiness is not something to be hunted, but a quality of presence that emerges when we finally allow ourselves to be still, to be here, without demanding that this moment be anything other than what it is?" Alara sat with his words long after he had quietly departed. The image of the acorn, the elusive bird, the idea of the chase itself being the problem. It was a perspective so alien to her lifelong striving, yet it resonated with a profound, unsettling truth. The breeze rustled the leaves of the ancient oak, and for the first time, she didn't immediately think about what she needed to do next. She just listened. Alara's relentless pursuit, her deeply ingrained belief that happiness is a prize to be won through external achievements and perfect circumstances, is a reflection of a near-universal human tendency. The Buddhist understanding of why our minds cling so fiercely to this often futile chase is both compassionate and illuminating, revealing the subtle inner mechanics that perpetuate our dissatisfaction even as we strive for its opposite. At the very core of this clinging is the concept of ta, often translated as thirst, craving, or desire. This isn't merely the natural human wish for well-being. Ta is a deeper, more compulsive urge. It manifests in three primary forms, all of which fuel the chase for happiness. First, there's the craving for sense pleasures, kamata, the delicious meal, the attractive partner, the luxurious comfort, the praise, and admiration. We experience a pleasant sensation, and immediately the mind clings, wanting to prolong it, repeat it, intensify it. This type of happiness is inherently fleeting, like a spark that quickly dies. Yet we invest enormous energy trying to reignite it, leading to a cycle of brief highs followed by inevitable lows and renewed seeking. Alara's pursuit of perfect vacations and ideal romances falls squarely here. Second, there's the craving for existence or becoming bhavata, the deep desire for our current self, our achievements, our status, our very life to continue, to become more, to be permanent. We identify so strongly with our successes, our roles, our ego construct, that we believe happiness lies in fortifying and expanding this self. Alara's drive for career advancement, her need for her apartment to be a symbol of her success, stems from this craving. It's a chase for a solid, enduring identity that promises happiness through its perceived permanence and importance. But since all things are impermanent, anicca, this chase is doomed to frustration. The job will change, status can fade, and the self is not a fixed entity. Third, there's the craving for non-existence, vibhavata, often misunderstood. This isn't just a death wish, but more commonly the desire to escape from unpleasant experiences, to annihilate pain, discomfort, or feelings of inadequacy. When we encounter suffering, dukkha, our immediate reflex is to push it away, to find a happy state that eradicates the unpleasantness. This aversion to discomfort fuels the chase for its opposite, creating a restless pendulum swing between seeking pleasure and fleeing pain. If happiness is defined as the absence of any discomfort, we are setting ourselves up for a constant battle, as discomfort is an unavoidable part of human life. We chase happiness to avoid facing our anxiety, our loneliness, our insecurities. Societal conditioning massively reinforces this chase. Modern culture, particularly in consumerist societies, bombards us with messages that happiness is a commodity to be bought. The latest gadget, the trendiest fashion, the most exclusive experience. Success is often equated with material wealth and external validation. Social media creates highlight reels of others' perceived happiness, fueling comparison, mana, and the feeling that we are lacking, that we must chase harder to keep up. We are taught from a young age to set goals, achieve them, and then set new, higher goals, with happiness always dangling as the ultimate reward just over the next horizon. This creates an arrival fallacy, the persistent belief that I'll be happy when I get the promotion, I find the perfect partner, I'll lose the weight, etc. But when we arrive, the goalpost for happiness has invariably moved. Furthermore, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of happiness itself. We often confuse fleeting pleasure, Vedana that is pleasant, with a deeper, more abiding sense of well-being or contentment, sukha in a more profound sense, or even upekkha, equanimity. Fleeting pleasures are dependent on external stimuli and are, by their very nature, unreliable and impermanent. Chasing them is like trying to build a house on shifting sand. The mind clings to the idea that if only we could string enough of these pleasurable moments together, we would achieve lasting happiness. However, this constant needing, grasping, and controlling is inherently stressful and agitation-filled, the very antithesis of true peace. Relatable everyday examples abound. The person endlessly scrolling through social media seeking validation through likes. The compulsive shopper believing the next purchase will fill an inner void. The workaholic chasing success at the expense of health and relationships. The individual hopping from one spiritual teacher or self-help seminar to another, always seeking that one final secret that will unlock permanent bliss. All are expressions of the mind clinging to the belief that happiness is out there to be found, captured, and held on to. The small shift in awareness that Buddhist wisdom offers as a beacon of hope is this. What if true, sustainable well-being is not the result of a successful chase, but a byproduct of cultivating inner conditions such as peace, acceptance, wisdom, and compassion? What if happiness isn't something you get, but a way you are when you stop doing the things that make you fundamentally uneasy and agitated? This shocking truth begins to dawn. The relentless pursuit of happiness, driven by craving and misunderstanding, is itself a primary source of our unhappiness. By seeing this mechanism, by understanding why the mind clings to this counterproductive chase, we take the first crucial step towards a different path, one of letting go of the chase and allowing a more authentic well-being to emerge from within. If the relentless chase for happiness, fueled by craving and misconception, is indeed a primary source of our unease, then the Buddhist path offers a radically different approach, cultivating the inner conditions from which genuine well-being can naturally arise. This isn't about passively waiting for happiness to strike like lightning, but about actively, gently, and wisely engaging in practices that clear the inner obstacles and nurture the seeds of peace and contentment. The shocking truth is that happiness is less about pursuit and more about permission, giving ourselves permission to experience joy in the present without the frantic striving. One of the most profound ways to step out of the chase is to fully arrive in the only moment we ever truly have, the present. The mind constantly pulls us into ruminations about the past, often tinged with regret or longing for past happiness, or projections into the future, anxious striving for future happiness. Mindfulness, sati, is the practice of gently bringing our attention back to our current experience without judgment. How to practice You can practice mindfulness formally by setting aside time for meditation, focusing on your breath, bodily sensations, sounds, thoughts, and emotions as they arise and pass. But equally powerful is informal mindfulness integrated into daily life. When you drink your tea, truly taste the tea. Feel its warmth, its aroma. When you walk, feel the sensation of your feet on the ground, the movement of your body, the air on your skin. When you listen to music, let the sounds wash over you without analyzing or critiquing. The key is to engage your senses fully and meet your experience with open, curious awareness. Notice the tendency to immediately label things good, leading to clinging, or bad, leading to aversion, and see if you can just observe the raw sensory data. Deeper teaching connection. This practice is deeply connected to anicca, impermanence. By observing our thoughts and feelings as transient events, we lessen our identification with them and our urge to chase only the good ones. We realize that joy can be found in simple, present moments, rather than always needing to be manufactured through extraordinary circumstances. We stop chasing future happiness because we start discovering the subtle joys available right now. Internal reflection. In this moment, what is actually here? Can I meet it with openness without needing it to be different? Is there a quiet joy in simply being present to life as it unfolds? Affirmation. I find peace in the present moment. Joy arises naturally when I am fully here. The chase for happiness is often fueled by a pervasive sense of lack. I don't have enough. I am not enough. Santuthi is the Pali word for contentment, which is not a passive resignation, but an active appreciation for what one already has and who one already is. It's a powerful antidote to the endless craving for more. Gratitude is a key component of this. How to practice. Make a daily or weekly practice of reflecting on things for which you're grateful. These don't have to be monumental. Perhaps it's a supportive friend, a comfortable bed, a nourishing meal, the ability to see or hear, a moment of quiet, a lesson learned from a difficulty. You can keep a gratitude journal. Beyond listing, try to feel the gratitude in your body. Notice how it shifts your perspective from what's missing to what's present. Another aspect of Santuthi is simplifying, consciously reducing desires for non-essentials, finding joy in simplicity rather than accumulation. Deeper teaching connection. This relates to understanding dukkha, suffering/dissatisfaction. The Buddha taught that craving is a root of dukkha. Contentment and gratitude directly counter craving. By appreciating what we have, we reduce the perceived need to chase after more external things to make us happy. We realize that much of our discontent comes not from an actual lack, but from a mind conditioned to always want more. Internal reflection. What abundance already exists in my life right now? Can I allow myself to feel genuine appreciation for these gifts, however small they may seem? Affirmation. My heart is filled with gratitude for what I have. Contentment blossoms from within. Often, our chase for happiness is very self-centered. What can I get to make me happy? Buddhist wisdom suggests that true well-being is intimately connected with our connection to others. Metta, or loving kindness, is the practice of cultivating unconditional goodwill and warmth towards oneself and all beings. How to practice. Metta meditation typically involves silently repeating phrases of well-wishing. Start with yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease. Then extend these wishes to loved ones, neutral persons, difficult persons. This can be challenging but transformative, and finally to all beings everywhere. The feeling you cultivate is more important than the exact words. You can also practice metta informally by consciously offering kind thoughts or performing small, selfless acts of kindness for others throughout your day without expecting anything in return. Deeper teaching connection. This practice helps to dissolve the illusion of a separate, isolated self, anatta, not self. As we cultivate kindness and compassion, our own hearts become lighter and more joyful. The focus shifts from my happiness to a more inclusive sense of well-being. Ironically, by wishing happiness for others, we often find it arising more readily within ourselves. It directly counters the self-centered craving that fuels so much of the unhappy chase. It helps to purify the mind from ill will and anxiety, states which are major obstacles to happiness. Internal reflection. Can I offer warmth and goodwill to myself, just as I am? Can I extend that feeling to others, recognizing our shared desire for happiness and freedom from suffering? Affirmation. May my heart be open and kind. As I wish well for others, joy naturally arises within me. These practices are not quick fixes or new ways to achieve happiness. Rather, they are gentle, sustained ways of retraining the mind and heart, creating an inner landscape where peace, contentment, and a genuine, unforced joy can flourish. The shocking truth is that happiness was never out there to be chased. It was always an inside job, waiting for us to stop running and start cultivating. The journey from a life defined by the relentless chase for happiness to one characterized by allowing well-being to arise is not typically a sudden, dramatic conversion. It's more akin to the gradual dawn, where light imperceptibly yet surely replaces the darkness. This internal shift is profound, changing not just how we feel, but how we perceive and interact with the world. It's a movement from the frantic energy of seeking external fixes to the calm strength of cultivating inner conditions. Consider Elara, whom we met earlier, exhausted by her pursuit of happiness through achievements and acquisitions. As she began to tentatively engage with practices like mindfulness and gratitude, the texture of her days started to change. She didn't abruptly abandon her career or her desire for meaningful relationships. Instead, her relationship to these aspects of her life began to transform. During a challenging project at work, instead of being consumed by anxiety about the outcome and the potential for praise or blame, the old chase for validation, she found herself more able to focus on the process itself, bringing mindful attention to each task. The project was still demanding, but the inner agitation was noticeably less. She discovered a quiet satisfaction in the work itself, a sense of competence that wasn't dependent on external applause. This was a nascent form of sukha, a well-being arising from engaged presence rather than future reward. When dining with friends, Instead of subtly comparing her life or scanning the room for more exciting connections, the old habit of seeking, she practiced truly listening, offering her full attention. She found herself experiencing moments of genuine connection and warmth that had previously been obscured by her restless mind. The happiness she experienced in these moments wasn't a dazzling peak, but a gentle, sustained glow of shared humanity. She realized that the chase had often made her feel more isolated, while the simple act of being present and kind fostered a sense of belonging that was deeply nourishing. The shift is often characterized by a decrease in reactivity. The inevitable disappointments and frustrations of life no longer trigger the same intense spiral of "I'll never be happy" or the immediate urge to find a new distraction or fix. When a plan fell through, Ilera noticed the familiar pang of disappointment, but she also noticed a new capacity to simply observe the feeling without being swept away by it. She could acknowledge, this is disappointment. It's uncomfortable, but it will pass, rather than immediately launching into a new desperate strategy to feel happy again. This is the fruit of cultivating upekkha, equanimity, a balanced mind that can meet life's ups and downs with greater stability and peace. Revisiting the pain points of the chase becomes illuminating. The anxiety that once fueled her constant striving began to lessen as she found more contentment in the present. The chronic sense of not enough started to be replaced by moments of genuine gratitude for what was. The fear of missing out, FOMO, diminished as she discovered the joy of missing out, JOMO, the pleasure of simple, quiet moments without the constant need for external stimulation. The shocking truth that chasing happiness was making her unhappy became an experiential reality, not just an intellectual concept. She saw how her grasping for specific outcomes had created so much tension, and how letting go of that tight grip, even a little, brought an unexpected sense of freedom and ease. Patience with setbacks is paramount during this shift. The habit of chasing happiness is deeply ingrained, often reinforced since childhood. There will be days, even weeks, when the old patterns reassert themselves, when a mind gets caught again in craving, aversion, comparison, and future tripping. One might find oneself falling back into seeking validation or pursuing fleeting pleasures with old urgency. This is not a sign of failure. It is simply the nature of unlearning deeply conditioned habits. The practice then is to meet these moments with self-compassion, karuna for oneself, to recognize what's happening without harsh judgment, and to gently, kindly return to the practices of presence, gratitude, and loving kindness. Each return is a strengthening of the new path. The shift is also characterized by a redefinition of what happiness truly means. It moves away from the pursuit of constant highs and the avoidance of all lows, towards an embrace of the full spectrum of human experience with greater awareness and acceptance. True well-being, or sukha in the deeper Buddhist sense, is understood not as an emotional state that is perpetually up, but as an underlying sense of peace, resilience, and connection that can abide even amidst challenges. It's the quiet joy of a mind that is less at war with itself and with reality. Plant this evolving insight within your being. Peace is not the absence of the storm, but the ability to remain centered within it. True happiness is not the relentless pursuit of pleasure, but the quiet discovery of contentment that arises when the chase ceases. This understanding doesn't lead to passivity, but to a wiser, more discerning engagement with life, where actions are guided less by desperate craving and more by clarity, compassion, and an appreciation for the profound beauty of the present unfolding. Our journey together has explored a path less traveled, a counterintuitive yet profoundly liberating approach to well-being. We began by acknowledging the exhausting, often fruitless, chase for an elusive happiness, a pursuit so deeply embedded in our modern psyche. We saw through Alara's story how this very chase, fueled by craving and societal conditioning, can become a source of its own unique suffering. Then we delved into the Buddhist wisdom that offers a shocking alternative, that true, abiding contentment arises not from catching something out there, but from cultivating fertile ground within our own hearts and minds. The practices of mindful presence, gratitude, and loving kindness are not tools to capture happiness, but ways to clear the inner space so that our innate capacity for joy can naturally blossom. The shift is from a frantic doing to a peaceful allowing, from seeking to sink. Remember the old man in the park with Alara and his analogy of the acorn? The acorn doesn't chase its oak nests. It simply surrenders to the conditions, trusts the process of growth, and allows its inherent nature to unfold. Similarly, as Alara gradually let go of her desperate pursuit, as she stopped trying to meticulously construct a perfectly happy life from external components, she began to experience moments of unforced joy, of quiet peace that had previously been inaccessible. She discovered that, like the acorn, her own capacity for well-being wasn't dependent on external validation or an endless string of pleasurable experiences, but on an inner alignment with her own present reality, met with acceptance and kindness. The happiness she began to touch was less like a fleeting, high-pitched thrill and more like the deep, resonant hum of a cello, steady, warm, and nourishing. The elusive butterfly of happiness, no longer chased, began to alight gently on her shoulder when she was quietly absorbed in the present. This shocking truth that the direct pursuit of happiness often leads to its opposite begins to feel less like a bitter pill and more like a liberating key. When we are no longer expending enormous energy trying to control life, to bend it to our will, to extract from a constant stream of pleasure, and to avoid all discomfort, a vast amount of mental and emotional energy is freed up. This liberated energy naturally manifests as a lighter heart, a clearer mind, and a greater capacity for spontaneous joy. We become quiet enough internally to hear the subtle whispers of happiness that were always there, drowned out by the clamor of the chase. This isn't a happiness dependent on everything going our way, but a resilient well-being that can coexist with life's inevitable imperfections and challenges. Let us now settle into a moment of shared stillness, an opportunity to embody this gentle path. Allow your body to find a comfortable and dignified posture. Soften any areas of tension, the jaw, the shoulders, the belly. Bring your awareness to your breath, just noticing its natural rhythm without needing to change it. Feel the gentle rise and fall, a simple anchor to this present moment. Imagine, for a moment, that you can lay down the heavy burden of chasing. Just for these few breaths, let go of all striving, all needing for things to be different. Silently or aloud, allow this intention to settle into your heart. In this quiet space, I release the need to chase. I open myself to the peace that is already here beneath the noise. May I find joy not in frantic seeking, but in simple being. May my heart be content, my mind at ease, allowing happiness to arise naturally, like sunshine after a storm. This journey of shifting from chasing to allowing is ongoing, a practice for life. There will be times the old habits resurface, but with awareness and self-compassion, we can always return to this quieter, more sustainable path. The profound realization is that happiness was never a destination to be reached, but a way of traveling, a way of being present to the richness of our unfolding lives with an open heart and a mind free from the tyranny of constant craving. Thank you for walking this path of exploration with me today. If this ancient wisdom has resonated, may it serve as a gentle guide, helping you to navigate your own relationship with happiness with greater peace and clarity. Please feel free to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your insights can be a light for others on their journey. With a heart wishing you true contentment and a soft farewell for now.